Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is Tuesday, July 12th. And, I think it's day 7 in the Big Brother house. Right? Today, day 7? Yep. It is day 7. And, yesterday was a bit of a rough one. For some of the house guests and kind of for me mentally as well. I'm doing okay today. And let's talk about what the heck is going on in the house now that we have had the power veto played. And Taylor finds herself now up on the block next to Terrence. I actually tweeted last night that I was like, well, just don't be in too much of a rush to see things possibly change. That, it's a long ways until Thursday and yada yada. And so I'm not taking my own advice very well when I say that, I don't know. It seems like Taylor may go fairly quietly. I don't know. I know production sooner or later will tell you really need to fight and campaign. The problem is there's the unknown of what the heck is happening with this backstage pass, and they don't know what's happening. And I don't know if Taylor feels like campaigning much against Terrence. And so far she hasn't done a whole lot that I can see. She had conversations with Monte and Paloma, so when Daniel put her up, it sounds like he said, you upset some people, you've said some things, you've done something, and just a whole, I did this because it's kind of your fault that I did this. However he phrased it, and I don't know exactly how he phrased it, but it really sounded to me like whatever he gave her was vague enough that she isn't able to necessarily figure it out. And so she kind of talked to Monty, and well, first of all, as soon as the power veto ceremony ended, that's when the feeds came back on, and Paloma is talking to her and crying and basically saying like, I can't believe this happened. I'm here for you if you need it. This is terrible. And I'm thinking like, she was the driving. Oh my God. This is like out of a movie. The level of theatrics, of fakeness, of everything that Paloma can do. This is approach. I try not to do this too much, but it does approach the level of what I remember. I've said this in the past before. Sometimes some things that people do inside the house is like a revelation of how they may be outside the house. And I have seen more than one fan tweet out, if you're Paloma's friend in real life, just be aware. Maybe you know this side of her, but my gosh, look at what she is capable of. And I say that because I don't see the level of self-awareness. You can see people do some of this stuff that is really two-faced and, backstabbing and conniving. And if you're going to go into the house and do that stuff, I would strongly recommend that you make a point to either explain it in the diary room or do some cam talking and say, look, I know this is bad. I know what I'm coming across as. I've got to do what I have to do to protect my game, and so I'm going to be really kind of underhanded, and America may hate me for it, but that's what I'm doing. If Paloma did that, she probably would still have a lot of haters, but she'd probably have some that would say, look, she's playing the game, guys. She's playing the game hard. But she isn't doing that, and I don't think she necessarily has a self-awareness of what she's doing. It's just what she naturally does, and that's why I think that it's like, man, I don't want to get too close to her outside the house. So there's those thoughts. But she was crying and apologizing to Taylor. It really ticked a lot of people off that she could do that with a straight face. And so in Taylor's mind, part of that's already been kind of worked out. And then she has a talk with Monty, and Monty kind of poo-poos it, and they kind of talk it out and apologize to each other and everything. And so I think in Taylor's mind, she's worked it out with Monty, and she doesn't realize that those two are really were the driving force to get her on the block. Now, other people were certainly contributors. I am not letting anybody off the block, including Daniel, who even I said, and I don't think I mentioned it yesterday, to someone, he said something about, I didn't like her from the start, or I didn't like her. I'm like, whoa, dude, are you just saying that to mollify whoever you were with at the time? But the problem is that people report stuff, man, and it's just the written word, and you lose context, and I don't know. I'm going to try hard not to be a super Daniel defender, because I did kind of like, oh, I really want Daniel to do well, and kind of like, oh, he's a super fan, I really kind of like him, he's cool, and so I've given him a semi-pass on some of this stuff, and I got called out for it, and people aren't completely wrong, that I am willing to forgive some of Daniel's transgressions because I'm kind of rooting for him, and so I'm trying not to necessarily do that, but I'm going to find myself doing that, and I'm willing to admit it. So forgive me in advance if I give Daniel more breaks than I do other people. At least for now, I'm still kind of like going, come on, Daniel, pull it out, Daniel. I want to see you right this ship and go forward, because look, somebody's going to win this game. And I don't think it's going to be Taylor, because I don't think she's going to be in the house anymore. So most of the people that are watching this show are not going to be necessarily happy. Oh, and Brittany, by the way, let's jump over to that. The shine has worn off Brittany some too. I think people will still want her to win the voting over Alyssa and Paloma, but Brittany is not as ingratiated with the Twitter universe as she used to be. She didn't have as good, her day yesterday wasn't as good, and she's a bit all over the place and a bit paranoid, and she's also kind of lost a little bit of her standing within the house too. So it's very possible that if Taylor goes, that suddenly Brittany is the next female, at least, that is kind of under the radar, or not under the radar, under the gun. Alyssa honestly has been fairly low key. She's still around, and she and Paloma were still definitely, big driving forces those first few days, but she's been pretty quiet. I don't know if she's figured out that maybe I shouldn't associate too much with Paloma, but I think she still is. I just think she's been a lesser quantity in the house the last couple of days. I think Indy as well. I'm looking over the cast list now, just kind of give a brief rundown of what I think is going on, and kind of just overall. I think Indy's doing okay. I don't think she's seen as a big time player, so she may just be along for the ride, and then suddenly she's gone. Or maybe she'll turn it up and she'll power through and be a force. But I'm not seeing it happening. Nicole, yeah, I'm kind of not as Nicole is. I thought. What do I want to say? I thought Nicole was a super strong player, really into the game, really well aware, but I do think she's been a bit isolated and a bit had blinders on. And so I don't think she has necessarily as good a sense of the house as she should have, and that could be because her and Daniel have kind of been, I wouldn't say they've been only in the house and stuff, but I would say that they've been a little bit more isolated than the rest, of the house guests on average, and so I think she doesn't have a full awareness of what all is going on. Part of that being that she's not considered one of the girls, and so they've kind of talked around her without her, kind of a thing. That's just my take on that. Jasmine's. I don't know, man. Jasmine, I put a lot of Taylor's situation on Jasmine as much as I do Paloma. And there's some people out there that I follow and I communicate with that were big fans of Jasmine, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think she has the capability of being quite a person you don't want to mess with, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I've seen her as a strategic player as far as playing the game. I don't know. I don't see her as necessarily a game player. I don't know how to put this. I don't see her as a game player as much as someone out there just looking to target people and get them out in a more of a vicious way. And I'm not trying to throw too many aspersions her way, but I don't know, man. Jasmine is someone who I don't think you want to get on her bad side. How's that? And I think we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see how it plays out. But I think her limit, her her scope of friends is pretty narrow, and if you're not one of her friends, you're one of her enemies. And I think she's going to have more enemies than friends in her time in the house. Amira, I'm just not sure of yet. I'm just not. She's been pretty involved with a lot of people, and I think she could definitely be a force. I think she's definitely more involved in the house than like Nicole is, and Amira's kind of close. Nicole and Amira are sort of the two closest to Daniel, I think. And I think Amira, even though she's not as tight with Daniel, who has a final two with Nicole, I think she's got a better grasp on the overall stuff going on. That's just my take. Turner, I don't know, man. Turner talks like he's just a character. And I can't think of who the other character is besides the Kyle Mooney character. There's another character or actor or that I can think of that kind of reminds me of him, and I got to remember who it is now. But the point is, he just doesn't seem legit. He doesn't seem real. I'm trying to figure him out because the way he talks, he throws out slang words that are just like, dude, are you for real? Do you really talk that way in real life? Is that how you are? That's me. That's my stake. That's my spin. I realize there's lots of people that talk like Turner talks. It's just probably the old person in me coming out saying that stuff. Who else? Pooch. I don't know with Pooch, man. Pooch is a fan of the game for sure. He knows what's going on. I think there's quite a few people in the house that aren't like big fans of Pooch. They like him as far as to get along with him, but I don't think they necessarily want to try to go very far in the game with him. So I'm not sure on Pooch. Michael, as much as everyone was like happy that he won and happy and excited for him and oh wow, he's a threat, I don't know how great people feel about necessarily working with him for the long game. He talked for a long time last night to the cameras about things. He definitely says, I'm trying to hold back on letting people know how much of a super fan I am. Yeah, I just don't know if he has the social connections to be able to go super far. But again, I could be completely wrong, and he'll make that work. We'll have to see. He did say something I saw last night that apparently he worked with McCree like for some brief period of time. He doesn't know if McCree even remembers him from Big Brother 15, but he is from the Minnesota area, and it did have some worked at the same place with McCree or something. I don't know, but he doesn't even think McCree may remember him. So let's see. Taylor's on my list. Yeah, Taylor again. I don't know. Joseph, I don't know. He's around. I definitely think he's in better shape than he was at the very beginning when people said he might annoy people and everything. He seems to have made some bonds. So I think Joseph isn't in terrible shape right now. Of course, Daniel I've already talked about, so we'll skip Daniel. Kyle has been a surprise. Kyle has been fairly conservative, fairly quiet, not as annoying as I thought he would be. Definitely his persona that we got coming in was going to be, he's a big TikTok social media star, hogging the camera, wanting to be on. You know what? Daniel may just be kind of a nice guy who figured out how to get his face on TikTok and do some stuff, and it worked for him, and he's fairly humble. I could all be wrong, but that's like it's like, wow, that could actually be who Daniel is, or what Daniel is, or not Daniel, what Kyle is. So I could end up being a Kyle fan in the long run. It's possible. It is possible. I'm not hating Kyle right now. So yeah, that's kind of a news flash. And then Monty, I think I've already talked about. Monty has been a bit of a disappointment in the way that he seems to have kind of thrown in with Paloma, but he also apparently is getting a little bit annoyed with Paloma and a little bit worried about Paloma, who is still just kind of wackadoodle. However, he obviously, was fairly one of those largely responsible for Taylor's situation because of the retelling of that whole stuff the other night, and I don't think he has any big regrets. And there's also the whole issue of Daniel being conflicted, saying if there's two black people up on the block on Thursday, it's not a good look for me. And I realize some of you are just like, oh, whatever. It's like, look, we got to understand, it isn't a good look. It really isn't, and that's just how it is today. But Monty is the one that's kind of telling Daniel, it's okay, it's all right, you're all right, it's okay, and a large portion of the black community, at least that I see online, is not very pleased with Monty and his willingness to encourage or to not talk Daniel out of this road he's gone down. So Monty is not in good standing with a big part of his community, at least in the Twitter world, and I don't see how he's going to repair that. That's kind of a hard thing to fix once you set that as your identity within the Big Brother house. So finally, Terrence. I don't know. Terrence is definitely kind of an island, kind of a man on his own, just kind of the guy around the house. He's going to stay in the house. He'll be there for a while, but he definitely is the person that's going to end up getting voted out at some point along the way, just because there's nobody else good to put up, or he happens to be, oh, well, you know what, Terrence is still up. Let's get rid of Terrence. So it's been fun to have him around, but it's time for Terrence to go. I don't mean to disparage Terrence. I don't dislike Terrence. I think he's fine. He's fine to listen to, fine to hear, but he's definitely not in there to play Big Brother. I would say that you know what? So, yeah, those of you, you've heard me talk about it before. I played Sequester, an online kind of Big Brother game, Big Brother Survivor, not a Bachelor, but one of those mole, just a game that you could play online with video chat and stuff. And I did several games, but the very first game I did, I was definitely the old guy playing it with a bunch of 20-something-year-olds, and one, we'll say 30-something-year-old. Yes, I think she is 30. I think she's in her 30s. I shouldn't even imply that she was anything but in her 30s. Anyways, I was clearly at least 20 years older than every other person in that game, and in some ways I was kept around because I was the old guy, easy to get out, and eventually I was gotten out for, it was like, yep, well, time to put Mike to pasture. In the other way though, I was pretty aggressive in my gameplay. I was pretty much, pushing, talking, pushing. I got what I consider a compliment from some another player one time where that was just watching the game and said that, I styled my game after you in some ways, and that I jumped from room to room. I never spent more than about a minute in a room. I was very active. I really appreciated that considering that person did better than I did on games. But anyways, I definitely, when I played that thing, was fairly active, and I haven't seen that with Terrence. I haven't seen him be super active. He's more like, yeah, I'm along, I'm trying to, make friends and talk to people and be kind of around the house, but I don't see him actively trying to do stuff, form alliances, make plans. So I just think Terrence isn't going to necessarily be around that long. So I actually did a cast rundown, which is not what I intended to do this morning, but I think it was probably good to do. And we'll see what happens. I do also want to thank those of you that have reached out to me in the past 24 hours for my comments that I made yesterday. I appreciate it. I really do thank each and every one of you. I don't think I necessarily thanked everyone that did it. Also, shout out to a couple of people that have changed their patron level in the past couple of days. I saw that come through, and I've been meaning to send a thank you to you as well. It's appreciated. And but thank everybody else for listening, and hopefully, I don't know. I do think. Let me wrap it up by talking about just the game itself and Taylor's situation. I don't know. I thought that maybe Taylor would push and be saved, but I just don't know what's going to happen now. And I'm wondering if production has decided, you know what, it's just better just to let her go and get her out of the house. And people in a couple of days will have forgotten about that part of the show, and we can move on with other people tearing into each other. And you know what? if there's no one that anyone likes left in the house, then everybody can hate everybody, and the gloves can be off, and they can just go hard. I just don't know. We'll have to see if Taylor starts fighting. But it is very possible that they're just going to get Taylor out of the house. And of course, there is always the potential for like a battle back situation or something. Or maybe she won't get out of the house. Maybe she'll move to the backstage crew and she'll just hang around like the Ghosts did a couple of seasons ago. And they just kind of walk around and get their battle back live on the show. I'm not sure. I am not sure at all. And we'll just have to wait and see. All right. That's it, folks. I have arrived at work. Thank you for listening. Have a good Monday. I will talk to you probably not until tomorrow. I don't see any reason to have to do another one of these today. And maybe I'll try to do a Twitch stream today after work if I can. All right. With that, I am out of here. Be well. Again, thank you for listening, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.